This is our last session all together like this, and this one is on small groups, because if we are doubling down on our, let's not do that yet. How did I click that? There we go. If we're going to double down on our small group effort, then we need to be equipped to effectively lead small groups. And so we just want to go over a few small group leader tips. That's just you with the students leading a group. What are some to-dos, not to-dos? What are just some best practices there? We're also going to go over some small group leader hacks. And when I say hack, what I mean is helping you win with parents and your students too. Some things you can do to help them be very comfortable in this transition. By the way, I do get student ministry feedback from our Bridgewater folks. And just to encourage you, I have yet to receive one piece of negative feedback at this plans communication. Some have questions, some maybe have misunderstood some of the logistics of how it's going to work. But what I want you to know is that in general, if they're talking poorly about what we're going to do, they're only talking to each other. And it's not coming our way. And that's strange, because typically in churches, the bad goes right to the leaders of the ministry, just enough to paralyze or discourage us. And the good just sort of floats quietly. But I think we've had a really good response. The good has come back. And then there are some questions too, but we've given you an agenda for your campus to work through, so that most of those questions, not only will the champion, but you yourselves as volunteers will be more than equipped to address any concerns or questions from parents. If not, of course, volunteers direct parents to your champion, and champions, of course, if you're not sure or don't know how or just don't want to answer the question, then you can refer them to me, and I'll either answer it or bounce them right back to you, depending on the nature of what's coming up. Before we jump into small groups, let's hear from these guys. I think Brad and Carl, one more time.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. As many of you are aware, we are in fact getting older, which means the youth of Generation Z are starting to develop their own personalities. As these kiddos get older, they're starting these new trends that quite frankly confuse the rest of us older generations. Kids everywhere are saying words that can't be found in any dictionary and don't make a lick of sense. And they're forming dance moves that would make my great-grandpappy turn over in his grave. The following video you're about to see are real trends made up by the real youth of this world. Viewer discretion advised.
Sup, compadres? I'm about to show you the most lit trends on this little planet we call Earth. Let's get started, fam. Yeet!
It's me, jean jacket with the chop sleeves, showing off a young homies.
Yeah, if you old folks aren't part of Vape Nation, you're missing out. Even though I can't hold my breath for more than 5 seconds, and I've developed this cough that has no cure and has puzzled hundreds of doctors, it still looks sick, fam. If you're ever at the dentist and he asks you, hey, how often do you floss? The proper response should be, every waking moment, doctor man.
Everywhere we go, everywhere we go, everywhere we go, they say, who that?
Got one of these? It's lit! So typically your day is divided into 2 categories. 1, playing Fortnite, and 2, looking at dank fresh memes. Bet. Yo, if you ever step in some dog dookie, don't just wipe it off from the grass like some old dude. Kick it off with some swag.
Everywhere we go, everywhere we go, everywhere we go, they say, who that there, everywhere we go.
Nature is lame sauce and outdated, fam. Isolating yourself and constantly being on your phone is the way of the future. Also, make sure to Snapchat everything you do. Okay, play that back so I can Snapchat it. Last but not least, you don't have a true bro friend until you hecka roast their socks off. What are those? Yeet! Remember, fam, in this life, It's either yeet or be yeeted.
Yeet! I literally understood none of that. What is a yeet? It's a way of life, bro.
That there, hey, everywhere we go.
All right, enough from those guys. That was a great find, those guys. We want to talk about small groups and how to effectively run a small group. I would say first, if your primary identity as a small group leader is a small group leader, you're probably not on the right path. All right, what we're working to do is build relationships. Let me tell you about one of my small group leaders in high school. This is now following the wilderness trip that I told you about. Nate was his name. Nate was a total nerd, a dork. He was weird. He was quirky. He wore strange clothes. The one redeeming quality he had is he drove a BMW 1000 road motorcycle. And that was cool. That was cool. And he did teach me how to, what's the word? I don't know what it is, but when you speed down the road and you lift up your emergency brake and you, what is it? Drift. Yes, okay. So, see, there you go. I don't even know. I should probably know that. But drifting. And so he taught me how to do that. And that was cool. But he was a terrible small group leader. The agenda that he got from our youth staff, I'm not sure that he knew what it was or how to follow it. What Nate was amazing at is building relationships. Nate loved us. We had, so as I grew up, we had Sunday morning church, Sunday night church, Wednesday night church, which that's when youth group met as well. And by the way, can I just say I love that we're meeting in a gym/auditorium. At Montrose campus, this is part of our youth space. So is all that and some of that. And you do not need the ultimate facility. What you need is the right people. You can meet anywhere you want. If you have the right people, you can do student ministries. Doesn't matter if you have an amazing little room that has children-sized chairs. In fact, we were almost going to do this over in the rally room just so I could say, welcome to our youth space, because it's totally designed for little kids. And that's where youth group happens. In fact, that's where youth group happens at all of our campuses. It's just in the building because we're the only ones who have the building at that time on Sunday night. Not about the facility, it is about the people. Nate was phenomenal because Nate just knew how to build relationships. And he did dot his I's and cross his T's, but not as a traditional small group leader would. We knew that Nate loved us, and he was also a small group leader. Nate's a small group leader, and I think I'm not sure how he feels about us. So here's what Nate got. 1 Thessalonians 2, verses 6 through 8 says this: "We were not looking for praise from people, not from you or anyone else, even though as apostles of Christ we could have asserted our authority. Instead, we were like young children among you. Just as a nursing mother cares for her children, so we cared for you. Because we loved you so much, we were delighted to share with you not only the gospel of God, but our lives as well." If you're going to be successful in a small group, they have to know that you're not there to run the program. They have to know you're there because you care about them. Because God did something in your life and you are just overflowing into theirs. So if you, Bridgewater, listen, volunteers, if you are here to sign up for the program, perhaps reconsider. We will run a program, but the program is not the point. The program is just the tool to help us build the relationships so that God can work in students' lives. So if you're a program person, we might need you to help us dot our I's and cross our T's. But if you're not ready to engage with students, then we will find a role for you that helps us create the environments and build the relationships, even if you have no student to adult connection. In fact, it's amazing. There's a table back there that we have out for tomorrow morning for church, and it's a Say Yes table. And we've got kids ministry and guest services that we're recruiting for. And one of the things that we love to say is that if you want to work in kids ministry, you can find ways to get involved back there. If you don't like kids or they make you scared or uncomfortable, you can actually serve in kids ministry. You can be a decorator. You can be a shopper. You can be a tech person. There's a number of roles within Bridgewater Kids Ministry that require no communication or interaction with kids. And you can help kids have a great time. In fact, you can come off hours when they're not even here and decorate a room and then get out of there and help make the environment awesome for them. So if they make you uncomfortable, if students make you uncomfortable and you're not sure what to do, I'm sure that we have a role that we can help you feel fulfilled in, and you won't have to have the awkward feeling of being with a Generation Z student. All right, so we are building relationships. How to do this? Here are some tips for small group leaders. The first one, be real. Be real. They can smell fake a mile away. If I start yeeting and doing the other stuff in those videos that's not me, or trying to talk Fortnite without really, they just know. And sometimes it's funny just to fake it when they know that you know you're faking it. Dude, I had a solo win this week. And they're like, no, you didn't. You're right, I didn't. I didn't, but I felt like saying that because I hear you guys saying it.
It's called a solo dub.
A solo dub.
For
So
W, win.
there you go, a solo dub.
There you go.
The Generation Z mom, right there. All right. How to be real. Listen, let your guard down. Don't take yourself too seriously. We're not professionals. We're people. God's done a work in our lives, and we want to see that work done in others' lives as well. So be more than a leader, okay? Be a person. Be a person. There's always that question, what do I share? What's too much? If you need help knowing discretion, what to share, talk to somebody who you perceive does a really good job. Certainly, we're not going to just dump our dirty laundry, but they have to know you're a real person, for sure, that you have real struggles. Your life isn't, everything's not awesome all the time. Okay, so be real, for sure. Secondly, let the group breathe. Let the group breathe. Sometimes as small group leaders, we can feel a great pressure to ask every prescribed question and get it answered. And if it doesn't fit in that paradigm, off limits. Like, I have 7 questions to get through, and doggone it, we're going to do all of them. So you better pay attention and answer these questions. Answer. All 8 kids answered? Great, moving on. Let the group breathe. You didn't answer all the questions when you were their age. You wouldn't have wanted to. You were playing with your fidget spinner or your fidget cube or getting buzzed on your device. You weren't doing that, but you would have. So if the conversation takes a random turn, see where it goes and let your radar go up and say, okay, what can I learn in this moment about what's important to these boys or these girls? What do they value? When their mind defaults, what does it default to? And just be informed. It doesn't mean that you never press toward an agenda, but man, learn. Nate, I don't know if Nate ever had an agenda, but he built a relationship, and when God began to really work in my life, and I began to step out in leadership, in youth group, and in my school, you know who was right there cheering me on and helping me? Nate. Nate couldn't have handled a 5-question small group discussion guide ever. But he was so valuable to me. And now, there's an ugly flip side, and that's being a super peer. Like, you're a leader, but now you're identifying as a kid, and that's just awkward. Okay, because you're not, and you shouldn't be. And so you don't need to be Mr. Fun Guy or Mr. Fun Girl. Be yourself. Let the group breathe. Learn to ask follow-up questions. The question 1, what's one exciting thing you did this week? And they say, I went swimming. Excellent. Question 2. No, chase it. Where'd you go? Was it a pond? Was it a creek? Was it a lake? Was it the ocean? Was it a pool? Whose house? Who was there? You do any tricks off the diving board? Oh, no diving board. You floaties? You play Marco Polo? What'd you do? Just actually be legitimately interested. I have sat in on group after group after group, and it's this. Question 1. What's one exciting thing you did this week? You first. Or, better yet, no one answers, and the leader says, I went to work, and it was exciting. Question 2. Terrible. There are some easy little tips in there, and one of them would be, okay, I'm going to ask a set of questions, and we're just going to go right around the circle. Like, don't even make it an option not to participate. Just, all right, Andrew, you first. Great, excellent. Hey, what questions do you have for Andrew about what he just said? Then they ask, and okay, you're next. You're next. Just let them know that in my group, there's no options. In fact, we just had all 5 campuses come together here in this building for what we call United Night. And one of the things we did in youth group, which I have redone now, is musical conversation. I love, because what you cannot make adults do, you can make students do. So we had 100 and something kids here, and we play music, and while they're playing music, they have to find someone from another campus or someone that they haven't spoken to all summer and spend time talking until the music stops. When the music stops, you find a new partner, start the conversation all over again as the music plays. When that's over, you stop that conversation, find someone else, and talk until the music stops again. And so you just work your way around. And when there's no way out, like, they'll just do it. And there's a few students who didn't. That's okay. That's okay. I'm just going to capitalize on the ones who do. And it's amazing what happens. Kids who would have not been spoken to or spoken to anyone when they were here suddenly are involved in a conversation. It's an opportunity for leaders to seek out kids that they really want to connect with, for leadership level kids who can sort of begin, sharpening their skills at ministering to other students or peers. It's really simple. So you can just, as a small group leader, set the expectation. Hey, here's what we're going to do. This is what the group is going to be like. Just wanted you to know. And, I'm not asking for input. We're not voting. This is just our group. And so there's little things like that. Interesting that what I would never talk to Nate about as a 9th grader, I suddenly only ever wanted to talk to Nate about as a 10th grader. So what began talking about, cars and motorcycles, and I feel like that's what we did for like months on end in our small group. Suddenly, I have that relationship now. If I'm not comfortable talking about motorcycles, I'm not going to talk to God or about God with him. You get that? If you don't give them time for the things that are important to them, they're never going to take time for the things that are important to you or that ought to be important to them. So let that group breathe and just learn. And then steer and guide. But you've got to let it breathe. Next, create an environment of trust. Okay, so keep necessary confidences. If you don't need to share it, don't share it. Obviously, I don't know if you know, but Pennsylvania law requires, probably New York does, because New York tends to be more law-friendly than other states. But even student ministry volunteers are mandated reporters. When we hear something from a student about self-harm or abuse, things like that, we have to share those things with authorities. There are numbers that we need to know and we need to call. So keep confidences. You can't keep everything, and don't promise. If they say, I'm going to tell you something, but you got to promise not to tell, don't make that promise. Just say, if I don't have to, I won't. And you could tell them what you might share, but listen, if it's that situation, then we probably need to get some support system around just to be ready for that, whatever that is. But create an environment of trust and be consistent. Part of that is being consistent. Oh, I can't come to youth group tonight. Well, that doesn't just hurt your champion. It hurts the group of kids that are waiting for you, that are looking for you to be there, that are counting on you to be there. So if you're hit or miss, don't plan on having great conversations, because they're not convinced you care about them, even if you have legitimate reasons for missing 35% of the time. So if you're in. Be all in. Okay? Next, be a learner. Be a learner. Ask questions. Ask lots of questions. Show an interest in their world. You don't know anything about Fortnite. Ask how it works. Why is it so fun? What platform do you like to play it on? Console? Mobile? PC or whatever, computer? I don't know. Just ask questions like crazy. Ask questions like crazy. This is a smart TV, and evidently it's a little too smart, giving me recommendations for what to watch. All right? Make sense? That's not everything. That's just 4 helpful things. Here's some hacks to help you. Oh, I'm sorry, don't play every role. That would be another one. Don't play every role. Assign some responsibilities in the group. If your group's going to have food, why not give it to one of the students? If they're responsible to bring food to the group, they're probably going to be fairly motivated to be there. If they're going to come up with the activity or the fun idea to do that night, they're probably going to want to be there. If you do everything, then it rises and falls on you. And honestly, that can be a lot of work, especially if it's not really in your gift mix. Share responsibilities. Why not let a student lead a discussion one night? Let them know, and maybe you do it, they watch, you talk. They help you, you talk. You help them, you talk, or they just do it, and then you talk afterwards. Just train them up. Give them some responsibility. Don't be everything. Hard to do, but they will often, most often, rise to the occasion. And it'll be awkward, and it'll be funny, and you'll live and learn. But don't play every role. Okay, here are some hacks to help you win with parents. First, over-communicate times, locations, etc. Bridgewater breakouts, you're going to be figuring out best ways to communicate to your small group, and then you're just going to beat that drum so that parents, and this, you know how this goes if you are a parent. Coach said I have to be there at 8 a.m. Really? Last time you said 8 a.m., we were late. You know, I want to be getting all that communication as a parent so that I'm not relying on my teenage son or daughter to tell me accurately. Because now everything that comes back to us, we just contact the coach. Unless the coach over-communicates. Then I don't care what she says. I heard it from coach's mouth. I know what we're doing. And so, especially with a new plan, and we're not together in a building doing one big event, they need to be very confident on the where and the when and the how long and what are you doing and all that kind of stuff. Make sense? So over-communicate. Second, keep up to date with your students. Small group should not be the only time you are checking into their lives. Again, we have this amazing capability for contact. It can be abused, it can be misused for sure, but it can also be neglected. So find an appropriate avenue of communication, clear it with the parents. Is it okay if we have a group chat? Is it okay if whatever, if we have a Facebook group or whatever the new replacement for that is? And just do that. So it shouldn't be like, I care about you at small group. Again, don't be a small group leader. This is be a person who's building relationships, who also happens to have a small group with a group of students. And encourage invites and numerical growth. Some of the questions already that I've gotten are like, what if a high school group just, like it's 30 people? Like, that's amazing. You might not even have to split it up in location. Why don't they all come to the same location and you throw more leaders at it and then they can split up for some discussion. But man, if the thing's growing, don't kill it. All right, feed it. So we should, our problems should be, how do we manage a group this size? Well, how would you manage an adult small group that size? You would multiply that thing. You multiply the leaders and you just find a way to make it thrive. Not putting hard limits on these things. So again, as a leader of a program or ministry area, it's hard sometimes to say, I don't have control over that. I don't get to call all the shots. But I'm pretty confident I'm not the best gardener, right? So I'll create the layout of the garden, maybe help till it up, and then let gardeners do their thing. That's what we're working for here. So encourage them to invite. In fact, on our invite cards, Fusion says Sunday, 6 to 8 p.m. Craze says meets weekly. Why? Because the student's going to have to say, hey, I want you to know it says meets weekly. This is Thursday nights at 7. And here's the time and place. You're invited. So it requires that conversation. Don't let the conversation end at group time. Find ways to communicate and to continue to engage. All right, last. Here are some essential small group elements. And again, you've got a playbook. There's a sample schedule for what a small group time would look like if it were 2 hours long. It's not the Bible on small groups. It's just a suggestion. They'll ebb and flow, okay? But here are some essential elements. Have fun. Students will vote with their feet, okay? So if they don't like your group, they're not coming. If they don't like youth group, they're not coming. And today's parents, most, are not making them. My kid says he doesn't need it. He must not need it. For better or for worse, that's the way it is. So have fun. So if you have an athletic group, do some sports. If you have a video game group, do some games. If you have a hybrid, mix it up. Have some fun. Don't be afraid to go on a hike. Whatever. By the way, Bridgewater people, our permission and medical release covers on and off campus events. It covers it all. We had a lawyer do it for us, so we're pretty well covered. Just don't be stupid. Okay? So have fun. Eat. Man, eat something. Doesn't have to be a meal. Just something to look forward to. We have sort of stopped. I've sort of stopped prescribing for on-campus events. Food, it just seems weird. You get a snack in kids ministry, and you get a snack in elementary, and now we're in high school, we're getting a snack. I don't think they miss it. I think that every now and then you provide something really amazing. They really appreciate it. But we had a volunteer who worked at Frito-Lay, and we had chips for years. So every night, chips. Oh, good, chips again. And we were very thankful for all those chips, but it just got old. And we thought, why are we doing snacks? They could take them or leave them. It's just a time to hang out. So just let them hang out. But in your groups, you should be eating. Show the weekly teaching via YouTube. Your device, someone else's device. I talked to a couple champions about this, but even when Fusion meets on campus, feel free to go into your small groups if you decide you want to do that and show the teaching within the small group. You don't have to clump them up together in an auditorium setting and show the thing on the screen. You can show it on a smaller screen. Trial and error. Give it a shot. Montrose people, by the way, upgraded internet is coming end of September, Lord willing, and it should be no problem for you to jump on the public network and show a YouTube video. All right? Use the provided discussion guide. Yeet, did you say? Use the provided discussion guide. We are going to provide questions for every message. And I put an asterisk there to remind me to tell you, let the conversation flow. If you don't nail all 5 questions, that's okay. Certainly make an effort to steer a conversation. But again, let the group breathe. Take your time. If you've got a group as a freshman and you're following them all the way to seniors, you might have terrible conversations about nothing, or great conversations about nothing for 9th grade, 10th grade. You might start to get somewhere 11th grade, and by the time they're seniors, they're like ready to pour into the other age groups. Who knows? Take your time. You didn't grow very quickly. It's taken you a long time to get to where you're at, and it's going to take them a long time too. Easy for me to forget that. I'm like, got to fix that. No. We got to come alongside, help them grow. Certainly confront when necessary, but that's all a part of it. All right, and pray. Pray. Even if they're not comfortable praying, pray for them. It's good for them to hear you praying for them. Assess and ask for their needs and go to God on their behalf. Invite them to pray. And maybe they will, maybe they won't. Adults will leave a small group if they're uncomfortable, someone asks them to pray and they really didn't want to. Students, if the relationship is there, they'll just say, I don't want to. You say, okay. And then someone else will pray or you'll pray. Typically not as big a deal with students. Good? Okay. So these are some housekeeping things, general announcements that I'm just going to bop right through. So this is for Bridgewater. Attendance. Here's the deal with attendance this year. All new students and all Fusion students are going to check in using CCB check-in. Okay? New students and Fusion will be checking in via the regular iPad system that we have. Craze attendance is going to be done by small group leaders within the small group, just the same way we do adult small group attendance. Once we know who your small group leaders are, we are going to give you permissions. We will assign you as a group leader, and you can populate the group yourself within the Lead app using students who have already checked in. Once they're in the system, they're always in the system. So long as we have the right information, it'll be easy for you to access them. So that's why when they do registration and check-in at your campus, it's important that we get the right information and put it in correctly. So that once, if Ross was a part of our team, he would say, okay, small group night, who's here? Ba-boom, ba-boom, ba-boom. He's just pulling those kids right into his group, and then click, 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 click. Yes, they're all here. Boom. That's how we're doing attendance for Craze. Fusion need to check in every week, and all new students, whether Fusion or Craze, need to check in the first time they come. Got it? All right. Second, shirts and name tags. We are not requiring Fusion and Craze shirts for youth group anymore. Okay? So yay or nay, I don't know, but we're not going to require it. We have a table back there. You can wear them if you want to. Those are free. Find your size, take a shirt. If you want it, wear it. If you don't, it doesn't matter. What we are requiring is name tags like you're wearing today. And until we get proper name tags from check-in, these are going to be what we'll use. We'll keep your campus stocked up, Sharpies and name tags. So wear whatever you want, weather appropriate, modest of course, and put your name tag on. Okay? We're not requiring Fusion and Craze t-shirts anymore. There you go. Okay. Schedule for Fusion and Craze. A sample schedule for how Fusion could go or Craze could go is in the back of the playbook, as well as a small group schedule. Okay, so that's in your playbook. And then the last piece of housekeeping here is you are going to want to subscribe to Bridgewater Students' YouTube channel. That way, when it comes time to pick up the video for Fusion or Craze, you log into YouTube or hop onto YouTube, your subscribed channels and the new videos posted will automatically be there. We've shot one video. We've already shown it. That's on the channel. You can see what we saw at United Night. But we are planning, our rough schedule is maybe to film one series in a day and then upload them ahead of time. And so they'll be uploaded in a schedule. So if we can work that out, that's great. However we can work it out, it should be there in advance so that you're not scrambling. Where's the video? It should be there for you just as predictably as someone would deliver the lesson or the message physically on campus that night. Should be that simple for you. But you're going to need to subscribe to that to make sure that you've got ready access to Bridgewater students' messages.